Welcome to day 4 of my scooter ride from Changdao back to Mae Sot. This is the last day, and assuming all goes well, I'll be arriving in Mae Sot today. Today is going to be a 230 kilometer ride, and I'm starting pretty early, as I thought I wouldn't do. My whole plan for this trip was to relax in the mornings and have breakfast and coffee and leave later in the day when the sun was out, which goes against my instincts. But at the very beginning of this trip, I pulled a muscle in my back and on my right side, and that has made the trip a little bit unusual. I just haven't been able to sleep because you have to roll over in bed and get comfortable to sleep, and I just can't move with this pulled muscle very easily. So I figure since I'm awake anyway, I might as well just wake up, So it's 6:15 in the morning. I'm already packed. The scooter is all packed up. I just have to go downstairs, hop on, and start riding. And yeah, that's what's going on. And I'm calling this the Tell, Don't Show tour of the Mae Hong Son Loop, because with my back the way it is, it's not very comfortable to stop anywhere and go exploring, so I'm just riding. So the whole idea really is just to talk about the trip today, but I can't really show you very much. But I thought I'd start with my room here, because I've had a time, I've had one night, an afternoon and a night here in this room, and I find hotel rooms fascinating, the design of them, especially the small details. I was thinking of those shows like Bar Rescue, where some sort of a hospitality expert goes into a bar that's having difficulty and then inspects it and then gives them a lot of suggestions on how to improve the place and make it more appealing to customers, improve their customer service. And there's that show, I don't know what it's called, some guy, a cook, famous chef named Ramsay, I think, and he goes into restaurants and does the same thing. And I think he's famous for being very loud, and he insults everyone and yells at everyone and whips them into shape, particularly the staff. He holds nothing back. I don't think I've ever seen an episode of any of these shows. I've just heard about them on podcasts, and I've seen clips on YouTube, of course. But I thought I could I could end up with the Planet Doug version for hotel rooms, or anything in life really, because I don't know, I'm just really attuned to annoying little details perhaps, but I notice them. So starting with the positive, this room is unique. It's very special in the way it's designed. They clearly had a vision for it. As you can see, the whole building is a metal frame building, and on the interior they kept that going. So all of the structure, like this ladder going to the loft, is made out of wrought iron. And as you can see, all of the edges holding up the walls and holding up the roof, that's all solid, wrought iron. And they kept that theme going everywhere you look. So even the wiring here, these pipes actually are holding the wiring. So you can see, a wire goes out of the pipe and into the wall there. And then if you follow these pipes around the room, it leads down to all these electrical boxes, all painted in the same wrought iron sort of coloring. So it's quite an unusual space to be in. So it's a lot of fun for that reason, and having the loft up there. I can see if you're staying here with 3 or 4 people, a bunch of friends or something, it'd be fun to have that loft up there, climb up and down the ladder, risking your life. Other really good things, the room cost 500 baht per night, and you get good value for that because the bed is really nice, the mattress is nice, the duvet is really nice, thick, heavy cotton, very comfortable, nice pillows. They have sheets on the bed, which is unusual. And I really like the curtains because they have dual curtains, which you don't often see. So you've got one set of curtains, which clearly, are designed to block the light. And then there's another set made out of gauze. And the gauze, lets the light in, but still allows for some privacy in the room. So during the day, you can open up the curtains to let the light in, but then you have the gauze there to still, let light in, which is really nice, and provide privacy. I don't think I mentioned the name. This is the Mitari Hotel in Mae Sariang. This is the Mitari 1, the original Mitari. I don't know how old it is. It has to be decades old, I think. It really is showing its age in some ways. There's a Mitari 2 in town, and also I think there's a Mitari 3 as well. But this is the original Mitari 1. Good things continuing. Lots of electrical outlets. Got 4 right here next to the TV. A set of 2 down there, 1 for the fridge, and then 1 beside this little table, so you can plug in your devices there and charge them up. One thing I really like in hotels is to have electrical outlets right beside the bed, and there's a light right beside the bed, and the light actually works, which is a rarity, and has a switch right there, so you can control the light right from your bed, which is a really nice convenience. Nice big mirror, which is there. In the bathroom, you know, pretty standard, pretty typical electric water heater, and nothing special about it, other than, again, the design. You know, all that wrought iron everywhere. And I guess from a aesthetic point of view, you know, these massive fluorescent bulbs are not the greatest thing ever. But, yeah, there's 1 in there and 1 at the top there. But at least they throw a lot of light, so which is nice, as opposed to the you know, energy efficient low wattage bulbs that a lot of places use. So those are all the big good things. The big perhaps negative things, you know, compared to other rooms I've stayed in, maybe it's a bit small, you know, for a double room, especially the way it's designed and laid out. You feel like you're in a small space and surrounded by all this metal. You do feel a little bit hemmed in. It's like an industrial space, and it doesn't have this comforting feeling about it with all this metal around you. I don't know, it's kind of a grunge thing. I don't know, something like that. But for example, this metal ladder that they have right here leading up to the loft, it's situated right in this space between the wall and the bed. So in order to get into the bed, you've got this very narrow gap. You have to work your way through. You kind of have to turn sideways and scoot through here. And at some point during the night, during a day, you're going to forget that that ladder is there, and you're going to walk along there. And if you get out of here after a day and a night without slamming your head or your knee or your elbow into that wrought iron ladder, you're very lucky. You're going to hit it at some point. But that ladder just makes you nervous about walking around. You know, you end up walking around very gingerly in this place because of all the metal. And there's another one here, this bar, like an elbow joint. I don't know what it's for. Maybe to hang a towel on, but I mean, it has sharp edges, and, you know, you could easily just sort of slam into that. And all of the fixtures, you know, like the door latches, again, are all made of a very heavy metal. So it kind of makes a lot of loud clacking and banging noises when you try to manipulate them. And also in terms of big things, this ceiling and the walls are very thin, and the sun beats down on them like crazy, and it gets super, super hot in here, like an oven, you know, especially here, you know, inside the bathroom. Extremely hot. And up there, and this is the cool season, and it was very, very hot in here, and this is the winter season. So in the hot season, you know, that would be something to consider. This room might be a bit of an oven, and the air conditioner does work, but it takes a long time for it to deal with the heat that gets built up in this room. But in my mind, it's always the little things that I notice, and these are things that were just decisions that were made, like to fix them would cost nothing and add great value to the room. And these are the things that I always think about, particularly when they come so close. You know, a good example is that light switch over there, which I love because it's beside the bed, but it's too high. I mean, if you're going to put a light switch by the bed, at least center it over the bed and put it so that you can reach it easily, even if you're lying down sleeping, because it's so high that even though you can reach it from your bed, you have to do a lot of gymnastics in order to be able to reach that high, to reach the switch. So I mean, if you're going to spend the money to put in a light and a switch and have someone install it, put it down another 8 inches, another foot, and lower it. And like, why not? It would cost nothing to do that. And this is kind of funny. They have one of these key card systems, where you put your key in there to turn on all the electricity, but it doesn't work anymore. It's disabled. I mean, you don't need it. All the, everything runs without it. So remove it. Like, why is it still here? I mean, I came in as a guest, and I spend the first 5 minutes of my life, trying to put my key in there, and it doesn't fit, and I'm thinking, what's wrong with it, and do I have the right key, and am I doing it right? And then I eventually find out that you don't even need to put your key in here. This whole system doesn't work anymore. But why leave it in place? Just to confuse every single customer that shows up, So a couple of screwdrivers, take a screwdriver, take that thing out, and yeah, just a small detail. And bathrooms, of course, are great for these sorts of small details. These little shelves always get to me, because it's tilted so badly you can't use it. Anything you put on here, soap, shampoo, whatever, just slides right off because it's tilted. And all you really need to do is put one screw in there. Like, see how it pops up? It's got 2 screws. Just put one screw in here, and it'll be much, much better. And you can't really use this shelf anyway, because as you can see, it's filled with water. Because the shower head sprays in all directions, and it gets filled with water. So you just screw, one little hole right here to drain the water. Put a little elbow bracket under the bottom to raise it up. Perfect. Now you suddenly have a useful shelf. But I'm sure it's been like this for years, and it'll stay like this for the rest of the life of the hotel, and no one's going to bother to fix it. Of course, the electrical water heater is always an issue. Tons and tons of water pressure here, but you can't use any of the water pressure, because if you increase the water flow, it comes out cold, because this unit isn't powerful enough to heat it up. You have to dial it way back, and the only way to get hot water is to have a trickle coming out of the shower head. But that's the same for almost all of these electrical heaters. The screen, of course, you can tell they just sort of gave up. It's torn open all the way around, gaps everywhere. So you got mosquitoes and moths and spiders and all kinds of creatures coming into the bathroom. And that leads to a really horrific thing. You can see all these spider nests. There's one there, there's a couple of them there, and there's one up there. So spiders are in there growing and getting bigger, and they're about to emerge. And those are just awful things. But yeah, you want to get rid of those. I could go on a dozen more details. Well, for example, you go to the trouble of putting in a mini fridge. So it's nice that the room has a fridge, but I always wonder, why are they always on the ground? You've got a nice little table right there. Buy 2 of those tables and raise the mini fridge, up to a reasonable height. It's very nice to have a mini fridge, but I would like it to be, 2 or 3 feet off the ground so you can access it easier. Again, it's a very small thing that would cost next to nothing, but would improve the room considerably. And of course, I'm always about tables. You got a really nice chair in the room, and it would be so nice to have an actual table somewhere, where you could actually sit on that chair and use it at a little table or something like that. But yeah, I keep thinking that this room, from a guest's point of view, could be made twice as good by just having a handyman come in for an hour and just come in here with all those tools and bits and pieces of screws and things, and just zip, 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 fix up a bunch of things, have a handyman in here for a day, and a good cleaning, and it would improve the room considerably. But I think that's all I'll say for now about my. It is a good room. I really enjoyed staying here overnight at the Mitari 1. So I recommend it if you're in the mood for something a bit different on the Mae Hong Son Loop. Time to get on the scooter. Time to get going. This is the outside of my room. So you can tell I wasn't joking about the unique design and the architecture. They have 3 separate buildings back here. So they have 6 different rooms, D1, D2, D3, D4, D5, and way up there, tiny, well, not tiny, maybe the same size, but that's a D6 up there. That looks like a very cool place to stay as well. But yeah, look at that rounded. Makes me think of the Netherlands as well, which is interesting. You know, kind of that roof shape. Is that a Dutch thing? For some reason, I want to say that it is. But yeah, it's a metal structure. And I was worried about the people below me, though. But because of this unique design, I wasn't sure if if someone walking around on the 2nd floor, how much noise does that make in the room down below? I don't really know. It could, it could be quiet because of the metal construction, or it could be really noisy. I'm not really sure. And I have to say, I did have a few funny moments checking in. That's always interesting, because they gave me a key to D4, so I went up there, and the door was wide open, and there's a keyhole, but there's no locking mechanism at all. You put the key into the keyhole, and it's just a big empty space. You can actually see it from the side of the door because it's 2 metal. The whole door is metal too. It's made out of the same wrought iron as everything else. And you can see right inside the door, and whatever the lock was, it's gone. It's been gone for years. It's just a giant empty space in there, and your key is just waving around in midair. So I figure, okay, there must be a padlock, and there was one of those latches that closes the door, and there's a space to put in a padlock. So I figure my key must be for a padlock. So I'm looking around, I'm looking all over the room. There's nothing in the latch, there's nothing on the door. I go inside, I go around and around, because I know what's going to happen. I'm going to go back to the front desk and say, I don't know what to do with this key. Can you help me out? And they're going to show me, and then I'm going to feel like a dummy because I didn't notice. So I looked hard. I looked everywhere, and I couldn't see anything that I could do with this key. So eventually I had to go back to the front desk and show them the key, and in sign language, I don't know what to do. What do I do? And the 2 women kind of looked at each other and heaved a sigh, like, oh, okay. And one of them got up and came up to the room with me. And then she went inside the room, like in the interior of the room, behind a curtain, far away from the door, on a kind of ledge, there was the padlock. And then she, took the padlock and said, see, this is what it's for. I'm like, well, if that's true, don't hide it. I mean, this isn't a game of, hide and seek with padlocks, If it, put the padlock in the lock, in the loop, so, your poor customer knows where it is. Like, why hide it in the room behind the curtains, far away from the door? Anyway, I thought that was pretty funny. But a good indication of any kind of hotel and, customer service is how many times does the guest have to return to the front desk. Ideally, of course, they never should have to. You check them in, and they're done, and they're happy. But if you have to go back to the desk 4 times before you've got your room sorted out, yeah, there's a problem with the hotel. And I had to go back a few times before I could get this whole room figured out, because also the Wi-Fi doesn't work. That's another big issue. There's nothing up there. There's a little bit of a signal from time to time, but it just drops out. And even when I was connected, there was no internet. So that's probably the biggest problem. You have to have your own data connection. But yeah, it's a fun place. As I showed when I checked in, they've got a Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs, giant murals. Oh, actually, there's more Disney over there. I didn't even notice. Donald Duck is over there, Mickey Mouse. Oh, Lady and the Tramp, Aladdin, Dumbo, Peter Pan. Ah, they're all over there. I didn't even notice that. I just saw, the 7 Dwarfs over there and the Evil Queen. So I thought it was all based on that one story, but it's all Disney. Huh. Why? I couldn't tell you, but it's fun. Doesn't really match the tone of these buildings and the wrought iron, but hey. And there is the venerable Mittery 1, the original building. I'm sure these funky brown and metal buildings were added later on. And they have a mural over here, which is kind of cool. Probably can't see it now, but they actually draw like a big wall mural of the road going around the Mae Hong Son Loop, and that mural extends onto the pavement itself. So it gives the illusion of a three-dimensional setting, you know, for like an old Hollywood movie. It's very cool. Ooh, enough babbling. Here's my scooter. All ready to go. I got onto the scooter with a minimum of moaning and groaning with my pulled muscles, so that bodes well for the day. One last look at the unusual Dutch villas here in northern Thailand. They have a mileage marker out here at the front, which gives distances. Oh, here's the mural that I was talking about. As you can see, the road is you know, painted right down onto the pavement, so it looks like a three-dimensional image. Quite cool. Kudos to whoever came up with that idea. And here's the mileage marker, 230 they say to Mae Sot, 310 if you wanted to go to Tak, and 46 to the border with Myanmar, and 165 if I wanted to turn around and go straight back to Mae Hong Son, which, to be honest, I'd really like to do. I've done the Mae Hong Son Loop twice, basically, on this trip, and I could easily just turn around and do it a third time. I really could. And as I leave the city limits of Mae Sariang, I am officially leaving the loop, because at this point, when I get to the intersection, the normal loop would take you from here to Chiang Mai. You continue down 108 and get to Chiang Mai. But I'm going to be turning right, turning south, down 105, and 105 will take me to Mae Sot. I don't plan on doing a lot of stopping, as I said. Once I'm on the scooter, I'm just going to stay on it, I think. But I will have to stop for gas one time, I think. A full tank, maybe it could get me to Mae Sot. I think it could, but there's no point risking it if I don't have to. So I'll stop for gas, probably in Pa Song Yang, fill up the tank there. That might be my only stop for the whole day. One more morning with the cold wind cutting right through my orange US dancer jacket. So right here, Chiang Mai, you keep going straight. Tak, you turn to the right. That would be Tak and Mae Sot, of course. Yeah, it's a really confusing intersection right there. I can see a lot of people on the Mae Hong Son Loop getting like, hey, where am I supposed to go? I was just thinking a bit more about that whole bar rescue, hotel rescue thing. Planet Doug and hotel rescue. But I think the difference is
that when Ramsey does his thing or Bar Rescue, they do their thing, they're going to businesses that are in trouble. They don't have any customers, and they're there to help them fix the business so they get customers. But the difference is that I think a lot of these hotels, they're full all the time. So all these hotels that I stay at, where I see issues and problems and very simple things that could be done to improve the place, I don't think there's any incentive for them to change anything because they have all the customers they need. Places are full night after night after night. I think that's maybe the big difference. It's supposed to be a clear and sunny day today. It isn't right now. It's heavily overcast and foggy. Well, not really foggy, just overcast. Bit chilly, but not terribly cold actually compared to, I think I'm at a much lower altitude than around Mae Hong Son. And I feel some rain in the air, feel some water droplets hitting me in the face. And interestingly, I didn't think about it until just now, but now that I've left the loop behind, I won't see any more motorcycles. I shouldn't see any more big tour groups going around the loop. That's kind of a shame. I really enjoyed seeing all the other people on their scooters and on their motorcycles. And I was thinking the other day about all the different ways that people have probably gone around the loop. I haven't heard about any famous ones. I haven't heard of any travel book where people wrote about it. But I was wondering whether, like, how many people have gone around it on foot. They went walking all the way around the loop. I'm sure somebody has done it. Has somebody gone around the loop by skateboard, on a donkey, on a horse, on a trishaw, you know, a Thailand three-wheel taxi? I'm sure people have done everything you can think of, but I haven't really heard about any of that. Just checking in on my journey. The way the land is here, as you go from Mae Sariang south on 105, like Mae Sariang sits at the very top of a narrow valley. It's an agricultural valley, so there's all this flat land where they're growing crops. And pretty much right where I am now, the valley narrows down to a point at the south. So Mae Sariang kind of sits up higher on the valley, and where I am now, the bridge I just crossed over, there's a small town a little ways back. That's the southern point of the valley. And from that point, the valley closes and the road starts to climb up into the hills. And it's a surprisingly dramatic road. A lot of climbing, a lot of curves, very reminiscent of the Mae Hong Son Loop. It's been very, very wet, very damp. Not raining, but might as well be raining. But just now, the sun has broken through the clouds over the hills on my left. So that's really nice. I can already feel it on my skin. As I said the other day, turning into a sun worshiper. Whenever that sun comes out, I just want to fall to my knees and start singing hallelujah or something. If you have to worship something, you can do worse than worshiping the sun, right? And in the tradition of tell, don't show, I came across something kind of interesting on the road back there, a giant snake. And what was interesting about it is that it was still alive, because you always see snakes on the road here, but they're all dead. they've all been run over by trucks many, many times. So they're just flat snake skins, really. That's all that remains of them, but I see them all the time. But I'd never seen an actual snake on the road until this morning. And it was interesting because you often see coiled rubber strips on the road because all the scooters and motorbikes and trucks, they use old inner tubes cut into strips as sort of like thick elastic straps to tie down loads on their bikes. And these black rubber strips often fall off, and you see them on the road all the time, and they're kind of coiled up. And from a distance, when I saw that snake, I didn't know it was a snake. I thought it was one of these, rubber strips lying on the road. So from a distance, I'm just riding along. Oh, look, there's another one of those rubber strips. And then when I came up on it, it was like, whoa, no, that's a huge snake. And it made me wonder if that's why so many of these snakes get killed. People run over them because they don't even realize that they're snakes. At least when you see a dog lying in the middle of the road, you know it's a dog, and you try to ride around it and not hit the poor thing. Of course, a lot of the dogs here do get hit. That's why they have so many broken legs and one-legged or three-legged dogs here. But with the snakes, there's so many of them on the road. I did wonder, like, how so many of them get run over. Like, people don't see them, but it could be that everybody thinks they're just pieces of rubber lying on the road, because that's exactly what it looked like. Anyway, that's my tell, don't show story. Pretty big snake too. Couldn't tell you what kind though. I did turn around to go back and look at it. Blame that on my pulled muscle. Oh man. I'm not in a lot of pain today. I'm okay. But I certainly can feel it. And it's so cold, my whole body is tensed up again. So it's not the best conditions for stopping and turning around and looking at things. And in this kind of temperature, you just sort of end up riding and not stopping. But yeah, when I came this way, when I came to the north, I was surprised at this stretch of road. Just yeah, how dramatic it was and how beautiful it was. It doesn't have the same grandeur as the Mae Hong Son Loop road. It doesn't have the same mountain scenery, but it's beautiful nonetheless. Yeah, this road is quite dramatic, surprisingly so. And it's quite damp still. The road is pretty wet, so I'm going quite slowly around these turns. Very tight, very steep turns. Oh, so cold. And this road is not as popular as the Mae Hong Son Loop road, so it doesn't get as much attention, I guess. Not as much money for maintenance. So you do get a few more potholes. You have to keep an eye out here, a few more rough sections. That road around the Mae Hong Son Loop, they've really kept it in good condition. The smooth tarmac the whole way around. Oh, where did the sun go? I guess it's because I've climbed higher altitude, so I'm back in the fog again. Not thick fog, but it's here. It's blocking the sun. I guess I'm really in the clouds. I'm not really in fog. I'm just up in the clouds. All right, time to settle in and just do some riding. I'm trying to be very careful to always say riding in relation to the scooter instead of driving, because I know a lot of people have a big problem with that. If you ever say that you're driving your motorcycle, you know, real riders have a problem with that. So every time I say drive, I correct myself and try to say ride instead. I am riding my scooter. Same thing if you're ever talking about guns and you want to refer to the clip or the magazine, man oh man, you better get that right. If you make a mistake and call a magazine a clip or a clip a magazine, the gun experts out there, they're going to let you know about it. It's like you've, you know, kidnapped their firstborn or something. You don't want to make that mistake. I was thinking about that because I shot a BB gun when I was at the Chinese village, Santichon, in, where was that? That was in Pai, yeah, in Pai, the Chinese village. You can shoot a kind of a fake M16 rifle that shoots BB gun pellets. And I remember saying something on the video where I wanted to refer to how many BBs were in the gun, and I couldn't remember whether that thing was a clip or a magazine, and I was so worried about saying the wrong thing. Oh, I'm in the clouds now. Wet and cold. It's beautiful though. Just to give an idea of what the setting is like right now, there's the road ahead and you can see the thick cloud all around. Said I hesitate to call it fog because I think we're really up in the clouds right now. We've climbed up pretty high. High enough, I think, that we're inside the cloud cover. But it's very lush, very green, very damp up here. And it's very beautiful. Great road, very windy. And out in that direction, where all you see is gray, that's the world out there. And the sun is the sun is over there somewhere, fighting to get through. But man, this is like rainforest. Yeah. And everything is covered in condensation. Everything is dripping wet, including me, including the GoPro. Covered about 50 kilometers from Mae Sariang so far, so another 180 to go. Woo. In thick fog or cloud like this, you always feel like you're alone in the world. You're traveling along inside your own space in this universe. There's nobody else here but you and the fog. And then when someone else comes out, emerges like this guy on his motorbike, it's always interesting because they come out of the fog and then behind you they sort of disappear into it again like they never existed. We're up pretty high, looking down there. If it were later in the day, I guess you would see Quite a nice scene. I guess this is nice in its own way. Though I think my lens is covered in fog or rain. There we go. It's cleared up a little bit. And that's why I wanted to start leaving later in the day, just so you'd be riding during warm sunshine. But it didn't work out that way, but this is pretty beautiful in its own way. Look at that couple on a motorbike or a scooter. They're out touring as well. I'm surprised. I wonder where they started from, how they ended up on this section of 105. Must have gone through Mae Sot. But it's so early in the morning, where could they have started from? There's no way they got here from Mae Sot today. So where did they spend the night? Mystery. Look at that sunshine. Nice to be going south since the sun rises in the east. I won't be blinded by the sun. It'll just be off to my left most of the time. Because riding right into the sun, yeah, you can't really see much. Look at that. We've emerged from the cloud. If you watch enough YouTube videos about traveling in Thailand, things like that, or read travel articles, you hear a lot of language like a hidden gem, a secret, a place that nobody knows about, and it's usually kind of not very accurate. But if anything fit that description, I'm wondering whether this highway out of from between Mae Sot and Mae Sariang 105, it might fit into that category quite nicely, because I don't hear anybody really talk about it. And as you can see from the scene right here, it's very dramatic scenery along this road, along 105. We're really quite high up. We're up above the clouds, almost like we're in an airplane. We're looking down on the clouds right now, and a beautiful valley over there. And you can see ahead of me, you know, that dramatic scenery up there. We're quite high, but look how high that mountain is above us. So there is some tremendous scenery here. And then of course the road curving and winding with its steep grades. Yeah, it's really quite a beautiful road. And as I said, I don't really hear a lot of people talk about it. And we're up here in the highlands. But even when you come down out of the highlands and the final section heading towards Mae Sot, then you're following the river and the border with Myanmar the entire time. And there's all kinds of beautiful scenery along the river. Interesting places there too. So it's got a nice mix of dramatic mountain scenery, highlands, and then down by the river. I believe a lot of these villages up here, the towns that I've seen, are various ethnic groups from probably Karen people or Hmong people, I'm not sure. If there was some kind of a tourism board for Tak province, in charge of this kind of thing, they could make an argument to take this chunk of Highway 105 and add it to the Mae Hong Son Loop and basically try to redefine the loop itself so it doesn't really, go just Chiang Mai, Pai, Mae Hong Son, and then Mae Sariang back to Chiang Mai. They could make an alternative version of it that starts in Mae Sot, and you go north from Mae Sot on 105, and that could be the beginning point of the loop. Start in Mae Sot, go all the way north to Chiang Mai, and then back again to Mae Sot. That could be the new Mae Hong Son Loop. Let's call it the Planet Doug Loop. That's a better name for it. I guess the one problem if you do come this way and try to enjoy it is it isn't developed, so it doesn't have the accommodation and the restaurants and the cafes that you have on the real Mae Hong Son Loop. There are no developed tourism towns other than Mae Sot. I guess Mae Sot has quite a few hotels, but that's the only. Ta Song Yang seems to have some accommodation, but after that there really isn't anything until you get to Mae Sariang. Time to check in on day 4 of the Tell Don't Show tour. Day 4 of 4 heading back to Mae Sot. I'm now in the town of Ta Song Yang, about 90 kilometers from my destination of Mae Sot. I've come 140 kilometers from my starting point, Mae Sariang, and that journey was just fantastic, absolutely fantastic. I guess when I rode to the north from here up to Mae Sariang, I must have noticed how amazing the scenery was, but somehow it didn't really stick in my head, I guess, because on this return journey, coming down out of the mountains back to the river level, it was just astonishing. It was beautiful, absolutely gorgeous, and coming down in altitude so dramatically. Again, I didn't realize I had climbed up so much when I went to Mae Sariang, but I guess I did, because coming down from Mae Sariang, coming to the south, it was just down, 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 constantly going down on this amazing highway, curving and twisting. So that's very much a enjoyable ride on a scooter, every bit as enjoyable as anything on the Mae Hong Son Loop, I have to say. So, and then once you come down out of the mountains, then you're suddenly following the river right beside, you're right beside the river. It's really scenic, really beautiful, and you have all the mountains across the river in Myanmar, which is what we're looking at right now. But I just stopped here in Ta Song Yang to grab something to eat. And I had a quick snack here, quick meal in town, and I'm leaving again. Gonna get back on the highway. Finish the last 90 kilometers to Mae Sot. I was thinking about spending the night here, to be honest, in Ta Song Yang. I've come far enough for one day for me, and I thought, well, I could just stay here one night. I really like this town. Oddly enough, this area is just north of Mae Sot, and yet out of the whole journey that I've been on, to be honest, I like this region the best. I think this is my favorite part of the trip, was the time that I spent here around Ta Song Yang. I guess because it's right on the border with Myanmar. You have large numbers of, I believe, Karen people. The whole region just has a different feeling to it. So yeah, I kind of liked it here. I liked all the experiences I had here. Going to the Mae Usu cave, scootering around in the countryside. As soon as you go to the east from here, you head into some beautiful territory in the mountains just to the east of here. So I like this whole area. So I thought I could spend the night here, wake up early in the morning, finish off the final 90 kilometers to Mae Sot in the morning, and then go straight to immigration. I almost did it, but I thought, well, why take a chance? The scooter is running well, the sun is out, it's a beautiful day. Might as well do the last 1 or 2 hours back to Mae Sot, and then I can be certain of going to immigration, that I'll be able to get to immigration tomorrow morning. If I stay here in Ta Son Nhang overnight, who knows what problem could happen. Better to just keep on going.
And that's it. Day 4 of Tell, Don't Show. The tour from Chiang Dao to Mae Sot is over. I've arrived in Mae Sot. It was about 239 kilometers, door to door, from the Mitari Hotel 1 in Mae Sariang to the Panu Hotel, room 3101 here in Mae Sot. Oh yeah, that was a good day. That was a really good day. Started early, 6:30 I think. I was already riding, and it was downhill almost the entire way from Mae Sariang to here. Just went whoosh, straight down, just curving, 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 curving. I can see how for motorcycle riders that would be a very, very fun road. And I was talking about the new Planet Doug loop that I'm creating for Thailand, and I was thinking, you know, extend the Mae Hong Son Loop so that it starts in Mae Sot, but I was wrong, because it should start in Tak City, because if you leave from Tak City in the morning and take Highway 12 from Tak to Mae Sot, that's a gorgeous ride. Sun rising behind you, the mountains lit up in front of you, just a gorgeous winding highway. And then once you get here, of course, you have to take a detour down to Umpang. You know, that crazy curvy road of how many thousand curves it has, to go see the Tilor Su waterfalls, the highest waterfalls in Thailand. Detour near Tak, of course, to see the highest dam in Thailand. And then after you go to Umpang, come back up here, and then you start heading north up that amazing road all the way to Mae Sariang, Doi Intanon, Mae Hong Son, Pai, Chiang Dao, Chiang Mai, and then when you get to Chiang Mai, the Planet Doug loop, you turn around and you do the whole thing all over again. Just backtrack from Chiang Mai to Chiang Dao to Pai, all the way step by step, all the way back to Tak City. That would be a ride. Because what I've learned on this trip anyway is doing the loop once is amazing, and doing it twice is even better, because you really deepen your understanding of what you're seeing and what you're experiencing. And that was very rare, wise decision on my part to reverse course and do the entire loop a second time. That cost me, you know, kind of a day or two in Chiang Dao that I could have spent there. But in the end, I think it was worth it. I really, really, really enjoyed that. Anyway, here's my home, the Panu Hotel. They seem to have a variety of buildings, but this is the main building. And I stayed here once before in 1102. They have a couple of single rooms for $350 per night. Both of them, or all three of them, I guess, are occupied at the moment, so I couldn't get into one of those. So I had to take one of the larger double rooms. But it's a pretty nice room, in fact. Once I found out that I could only get a double room like this one and $450 a night, I started reconsidering my options, because for $450 a night, I can get a very nice room at the Retro Twin guest house here in Mae Sot. So I considered that, once you get bumped up to 450, that's what you're paying. Your options open up and you can stay in some pretty nice places. And I thought about it for a minute, but as soon as they showed me this room for 450, I thought, okay, yeah, it's fine. The one at the Retro Twin is a bit newer perhaps, but this is actually, I think, a more comfortable room than the one at the Retro Twin home. The one, the big king size bed with the balcony. Just to get up to that room is up on the second floor, a narrow staircase down a narrow hallway. And with this room, what I love about it, one thing I love is I can just park right outside. So my scooter is parked right there. I just walk right in. And this room has a lot of furniture in it, which I really like. Got the bed with looks like some nice bedding. End table over here, another table over there, 2 rattan chairs and a table over there, which is nice. And wardrobe and the TV, refrigerator. And look at this, kettle with 2 bottles of water and even some 3-in-1 coffee. And the last time I stayed here, the internet was very strong and very fast, so I know it should be reliable. Yeah, nice windows, beautiful screens on the windows, air conditioning comes with your 450. Okay, 1 electrical outlet by the door. Look at that. 1 over there. And what I was babbling about this morning, I always love having a light above the bed, but at the hotel this morning, the switch was so high you couldn't reach it from the bed. But look at that. The switch is right down here at bedside, and that's the perfect place to have it. So good, kudos there, good design. Yeah, there's my new home. And a rack there for laundry and towels. Yeah, oh, and there's even a kind of is it a balcony when it's on the same floor? I don't know what that means. What you call this? Aren't balconies supposed to be from the second floor? But there is this space out here in the back. That's where they have the air conditioner. Looking out at my neighbors. Another very good thing about this place is that the young woman who helped check me in, she was so good at her job. She spoke English. I think they get a lot of foreigners staying here, like long-term people who pay by the month, who work for various NGOs on short-term contracts. And I guess she's used to dealing with foreigners, and she kind of understands how we think and the questions we ask and the things we might want. So for example, I found out that the single rooms were occupied, and then she anticipated my next question and said, maybe the single room will open up tomorrow, but we don't know if that guest is going to check out or not. And she says, well, if that guest does check out, and then I clean the room, I will come and tell you. And if you want to, you can move from the double to the single. And I've already paid for 2 nights here in this double. And then the single is cheaper, of course. And she says, well, and if you do move, I will give you, the difference. I will give you the money back, and we'll change you to the single. And it's just like, I was going to say, stop. You're blowing my mind. You're being way too sensible. There's way too much common sense happening here. I'm not used to this much understanding and information coming at me when I'm dealing with hotels here. So that was pretty cool. And location is a big deal. Again, comparing it to the Retro Twin home, this is pretty much right downtown. This is my old neighborhood in Mae Sot. I know this area very well. I'm pretty much right downtown and near everything I would ever want to be close to. And the Retro Twin home is far away on the other side of town, in the newer part, the more commercial district, near Robinson's shopping center. So if I don't have a scooter, and I may not have a scooter starting tomorrow, then I'd much rather be based here because I can walk everywhere. But if I was out at the retro, I'm kind of stuck out there. I can't go anywhere without transportation. Oh, so that is it for now. The next part of my story has to wait until tomorrow when I get the word from immigration. And that's it. So, Tell, Don't Show is over. An amazing 4 days. I love that ride so much. If I didn't have time commitments in terms of going to immigration, you know, I just turn the scooter around and I'd go back and I'd do the whole thing for a third time, probably. Yeah, I enjoyed that so much. All right, signing off for now, and I assume in the next video I will tell you what happened with immigration, and hopefully what I have to tell you is, yeah, good news. Fingers crossed, we'll see what happens. I'll see you in that video.